Welcome to the Everyday Experiences podcast, where we uncover potential design improvements in the world around us by exploring one frustrating experience at a time. I'm your host and chief observer, Geoff Wilson, based out of Auckland, and we're going to start doing something a little bit different here. Now that we've reached 10 episodes, every other episode or so, I'm going to start inviting more local designers and researchers on the show, people that the design world at large might not know about yet. So in that respect, joining me today in this inaugural Local Designer series is Janice Chan, a UX designer also based out of Auckland. On today's episode, we're unpacking experiences around utensils. Yep, I said it, utensils. Specifically, the ones that actually help us get the food into our mouths and not down our shirts. As mundane as utensils might sound, they're one of the most common tools we all use, so I thought they deserve some attention. Specifically, we're considering product specializations, like whether tools should be unitaskers or used for many different jobs. We'll be talking about product sustainability, and overall discussing how might something as simple as a utensil fundamentally change our dining experience, potentially without us even realizing it. I'm looking forward to talking about this with you, Janice, because you and I actually talked about this in a cafe over a year ago, I think before I even recorded the first episode. Yeah. So I've had this on my list for a long time. Hey, we're finally here doing it now.
Oh man, I'm so excited just looking at the chopsticks and the utensils that I have right now on my table.
And I'll put these in the show notes so you can see by going on Instagram or Twitter, LinkedIn, Facebook, any of the sites, honestly, besides TikTok yet. I don't plan on dancing with utensils just yet, but if I get desperate enough, who knows what will happen. But on that note, yes, I'll put up pictures of what we're kind of talking about. And both of us, at the very last minute before clicking record, ran out into our kitchens and started just grabbing spoons and things by the handful. So I've got a full array next to me. It sounds like you've got a full array next to you.
Yeah, I went in busting into the kitchen and my partner was just like, do you need help with me just bringing the whole drawer for you? As I was fishing stuff out. Yeah, it's hilarious. So, yeah.
And I realized you've got this crazy passion for spoons, apparently. What interests you about utensils and spoons specifically?
I think I go into phases when it comes to things I use or I discover that really makes my life a lot easier in terms of food and beverage, because that's what my life is pretty much revolved around, or has been revolved around for quite some time now. So imagine me with crazy eyes talking about spoons. Oh my gosh.
I mean, so specifically, I think you started talking about you had like a collection of Japanese spoons or something of that sort.
Oh, yes. Let me tell you more about that. So, what I mean about collections is I like to explore the different types of spoons. Okay, so how I got into this spoon collection was I found out from a friend of mine that she likes collecting teaspoons, actually. So, just pure dessert spoons. And I found that really funny. So, I thought I will maybe the next time I travel down to Australia, that was when I was still traveling for work, I would maybe look out for tiny teaspoons for her because she finds it adorable. And I think that kind of got me into discovering more about other different types of spoons as well. But that was the spoon phase. There was a knife phase previously, but we'll talk about that next time. So yeah, I hopped onto the spoon bandwagon and I have wooden spoons, ceramic spoons, your good old stainless steel ones. Um, there is a silicone one that I also have recently got, and they're pretty much all different shapes and sizes. And I think as my collection grew, I wanted to narrow it down to what was actually useful for me and also had a cool history or background of why this spoon is made this way. So my next spoon, by the way, that I'm looking for is a seashell sort of spoon for caviar. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. I think it's made of mother of pearl, but yeah, it's specifically made for caviar. Expensive stuff.
On that note right there, you just said like the specialization aspect. It's specifically for caviar in this case.
Yes.
So why don't we just have one type of fork or one type of spoon or knife?
I think it might be due to the environment that we are in, because dining is a whole experience, right? Um, Dining by yourself, dining with a group of people, dining indoors and outdoors. I think it is very different. So the tools that we use are also going to be very different. To your question, though, I think the if we were dining like camping wise, a spork would be really helpful, I reckon. I hope you kind of get what I mean, where it's a different environment, if it's a different situation, indoors, outdoors, the culture as well, it plays a role on what utensils we use. It's a lot of factors. I'm just realizing talking about it right now.
Actually, so culture, what do you mean by that? Like, I never thought of culture. I mean, other than, let's say, chopsticks versus a fork, outside
Mm,
of that level, surface level, what else do you mean by culture in that sense?
okay. How you use a spoon would be totally different. I mean, I am from Southeast Asia, so let's go back to the beginning. How I was brought up to use my spoon and fork or and knife was really different to how I use it right now, in New Zealand, where it's very European. So my mom taught me, and I think lots of Southeast Asian people can relate to this, that your fork is on your left hand and your spoon is on your right hand, and you actually use the spoon to scoop stuff up like rice or gravy in dishes, and you have that spoon is going to be sharp on the edge as well because it helps to slice
Hmm.
whatever things, ingredients or side dishes into small pieces. So you can use the fork to shovel it into the spoon and you can use it to eat. I mean, use the spoon to eat. So that's the first time I felt that, okay, this is quite a culture shock. I can't really cut with my spoon anymore because people are going to look at me weird in New Zealand or in Europe or in the US. But that's what I grew up with, using it as a dual purpose sort of thing to slice and to eat.
I've never heard of sharp edged spoons. I mean, I've had some, like, you get like the plastic spoon and then take away,
Yeah,
the thing cuts the side of your mouth when you try to get it. And that's how the Joker actually
yeah.
got those scars. Really dumb.
Oh,
Yeah, really,
no,
really
no,
dumb 12-year-old joke
spoiler.
there.
Ha,
Yeah.
ha, ha.
Anyway, but yeah, so I never heard of wow, that was the thing.
I think it's not so sharp, but it's blunt enough for you to. It's sharp enough for you to slice into it. So I guess it's really thin.
Okay.
It's super thin, but it's not sharp. I don't know.
Well, as you started talking about that, they did raise it in my head of I've got a Korean family-in-law, and they are very particular around when you're supposed to use your spoon versus not, such as, well, one, like, you're never supposed to just stick your chopsticks, like, just like let them rest inside your rice, like, never do that. But then I
Yep.
think also, I think we're not supposed to pick up rice with your chopsticks when you're eating with other stuff. You're supposed to use your spoon to actually pick it up, or it could be the exact opposite. But I guess from a cultural angle, you're right that there is different ways of the unspoken, the rules of using different utensils in different ways, and different ways to hold them, different things to eat with them or not to eat with them, that are the faux pas, the thing you're not supposed to do.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think I was lucky enough to be able to hop around the world for a bit and observe. And I was really curious about, not just food and beverage itself, but the experience and the way people eat and how they feel. So I think that's what I picked up on, and of course for myself, eating, or why they behave the way they eat. So what you said about the chopsticks, it's not just Korea, it is Japan, China, or any Chinese Asian related, thing where you're not supposed to poke your chopsticks down into a bowl of noodles or rice. So you're absolutely correct.
I at least got one of those two. I don't know about the other one. About eating the rice, I don't remember which one I'm supposed to use now. I think it's instinctual though, at this point. I mean, this is all completely useless for anybody listening. I mean, it is just instinctual now of what I'm supposed to do. But it's weird when I'm actually trying to describe with words, like, how I'm supposed to use a spoon in which specific occasion.
Mm.
because I've just become used to it over the years now, and I don't even think about it anymore. I just do it. But that also means there's bad habits to break as well.
Well, I think if you're eating by yourself, you should be fine. You don't have to care about what spoon, fork, or which hand you can eat it with your hands. Proper
Well,
chopsticks.
actually, you know what? I didn't expect to go there, but I think about that. I've heard before that, like when you're in the Indian curry, that they might not
Mm,
actually use utensils. They might just actually use like their non-dominant hand to eat both the curry and rice together.
that's right. Yeah, that's absolutely right. And there's a reason behind. Okay, so Singapore, melting pot of lots of different cultures. So I guess me again, lucky me again. I do observe Indians and Malays in my community. They actually, even my mom, she was the one that taught me how to eat with my hand. So like me, she's quite curious about different languages, cultures, food, and for the Malays, because my dad's Indonesian and my Malay friends and Indian friends, we it's okay for us to eat with our hands, but just our right hand, not the left hand, because fact check me, everybody. In the past, we have one hand for eating and the other for wiping,
Yep.
if you know what I mean. So we never mix, never, because I mean it's unhealthy and you might have a fever as such. But I guess, as the times go by, we still stuck with eating with our right hand or just eating certain foods that belong to certain cuisines or cultures with our hands. So some Indian food that's a rice dish or a roti dish, like a flatbread sort of dish with curry, I love using my hands. Oh my gosh, pizza, chicken wings, always use my hands. So I think, yeah, I guess it's up to whatever you're comfortable with. If you're alone or if you're someone you trust.
That is really interesting. Yeah, so it's just cultures in general can totally change what you actually need. What's in your kitchen drawers, for example. If you're using your hands to eat, there's way less dishes, which is nice. There's a
Hmm.
bonus.
That's right.
Yeah.
Exactly. Oh
So
man. Oh, I love Korean spoons, by the way. Those Korean long metal handles with the slim. I love those. Yeah. I
I'm
really like
holding it up on screen for everybody who won't see this.
so elegant and they're long so the handle you can kind of reach into these pots and not burn
Mm.
myself.
That's what that. Okay, I was wondering why it's so long because I don't know the context. I mean, again, I'll show these later. But there's the
Yeah.
difference in like the bowl of the spoon is way smaller, but
Mm.
the handle's almost as long as an entire New Zealand regular everyday spoon.
Yeah, exactly. I love those. And check out my spoon. This is a stackable spoon that's a soup spoon, but I got this from a Thai restaurant, and this one I got this from a Japanese place. So they look somewhat similar, and it's supposed to hold more soups. So it has its purpose. So what I'm holding is what people would normally see in those dim sum yum cha places, Chinese restaurants, where it is a fragile looking soup spoon that is recognizably exotically Chinese.
Hmm.
And it is made of ceramic, so it's quite fragile, of course, but it's sturdy. And I think this is me just assuming the reason why it's made of this material is because it kind of does not hold on to so much heat.
Hmm.
And as an Asian person, I do love soups. I love my soups. And I feel that this spoon, in particular, this short, stout spoon, holds a lot more volume in terms of the European soup spoon. And I think the reason why it is shaped with a hollow-ish handle is because it can stack easily to reduce space. I love stackable things. I love waterproof things, and when I found out about the stackable stuff, I was like, hell yeah, I gotta get more of these.
In any given household, not only restaurant, but yeah, just any given household, you've got a utensil drawer, most likely, right? And in that
Yeah.
drawer, you are stacking things in some. Maybe you've got an organizer. Maybe you're the chaotic person who just has all of your utensils in a drawer and you just reach in. It's like a mystery and you don't know what you're going to get. Man, that would be an interesting way to live life.
Oh, that would be great variety show. Like imagine you have a drawer full of random, like you say, utensils, and you just have to pick one, like a Scrabble in a Scrabble bag, and you have to, and then they will unveil an item of food for you, and you have to eat the fastest, I guess. With
Oh, wow. Okay, this is a trade. Actually, we don't care about trade. I don't know how trademarks work. All that matters is, come on, give us some royalties for coming up with the idea here on this episode.
Yeah, I would watch that.
But yeah, so your spoon that you've got there, I know I've seen it, I think, primarily in Japanese restaurants where like miso soup, like they usually bring it out with that. So I've seen it there the most often. It's got like this really flat base. I mean, the bowl or the scooper area of the spoon itself almost looks like a bowl. I mean, it's like a full on, it's got sides that go nearly straight up and all. In terms of, trying to actually dine with it, it does get a lot of liquid. So great for really, soups like miso and other really thin stuff. But the edges are so rounded that it's actually quite hard to actually scoop everything out of your bowl then, though, right?
You're absolutely right. And I think this is going to be linked back to which country you're from and with like how you eat. Moving on from that, let's go to the different ways of eating, because what you brought up is really interesting, and I think that is also another thing that fascinated me about our next instrument of eating, our chopsticks.
Oh, yes.
So the question that you posed was, you can't really get much after, a little shallow bit of soup is left on your bowl. Like it's really hard to get it, and it's totally understandable. Everybody's been there. And this is what I realized about the Chinese, or at least how when I grew up, I would pick my bowl of soup up and just slurp it. For some cultures, I know it's not proper because you leave the bowl on the table. It doesn't move from the table. You have to eat from the bowl itself. That's all. But if you were to go watch, I don't know, kung fu movies that have, or Studio Ghibli movies, they would lift their vessel to their mouths to eat if they only have one tool. So, and this is what my partner pointed out to me actually. I didn't notice it at first. Me growing up with my Chinese mom, like imagine this, a rice bowl in front of me with my chopsticks, and if this is the only utensil that I have, I would take my bowl of rice, put it in front of me in my hand, and I would use my chopsticks and shovel the rice into my mouth. And if I want a little bit of, I don't know, egg or vegetable that's on my bowl, I would use my chopsticks and pick it up. So it's quite simplified from my experience, and from my culture that I've learned and grown up to be in. But the good thing about the Japanese is, oh, I love their culture, is that they make it easy for you with that vessel, with that utensil, to eat whatever you have, whatever food you have in that, I don't know, itself. So the experience is kind of tailor made for you. That's what I experienced personally. And one more thing, um, is that, fun fact, all all these chopsticks that I have right now, one which is a metal Korean chopsticks, which is quite flat, thin and flat. And for the Japanese chopsticks, it is also thin, but it's much narrower. It's much more narrow at the front with a little bit more grip. And the Chinese chopsticks, it's thicker and it's longer, and it's not really heavy. And for Japanese, it is really thin and narrow at the top because the Japanese people use it for eating fish a lot, and they are very healthy. They eat lots of seafood, so it's easier for them to pick at things and eat it. For the longer ones, I think it's more of a communal Chinese culture where in the middle there is a rotating, what do you call that? Like a lazy Susan sort of thing?
Yeah.
Yeah. So you kind of have to reach for food, especially at wedding dinners, Chinese weddings. So the length of the chopsticks definitely helps.
I never thought about the reach in terms of the length of them. It always just seemed somewhat arbitrary to me, but now it actually makes total sense. And that's why I like
It's
talking about
crazy,
this.
isn't it?
And I think moving from chopsticks to forks, I think on Wikipedia, I counted about at least 35 different types of forks that exist out there now as well.
Yeah.
I mean, we had three in our drawer. I mean, we've got like the giant serving fork with giant tines and huge
Mm.
handle. We've got like a dinner fork, but it's got like a wooden handle. So it makes it really pain in the ass again for uh, doing dishes just because, I mean, the wood handle is thicker. So, I mean, because it's not just a thin piece of metal, it gives
Mm.
you a lot more grip. It's nicer and it's actually easier on the hands. But because it's wood, again, we don't want to put it in the dishwasher because it'll just ruin it eventually. And then
Mm.
you've got your standard old, regular, just completely metal fork all the way down. The one fork I don't have with me is I didn't, when I moved to New Zealand, I really thought about bringing it. It was
What is
basically
that?
just, it was a full metal fork, but the entire handle part was just
Uh-huh.
like this really, really heavy and thick, like spiral. And I loved it because I loved this heavy weight of something. And I think I went to a museum once, and unfortunately, there's no actually helpful things here. That they were saying like the weight of a handle might actually make you feel fuller quicker or something crazy like that. But I should have done my research before this, and I haven't.
Oh, it's okay. I'm learning so much from you about forks because I've never really paid attention to forks. But man, I think there was a saying about handles being important as well for knives because it helps, I don't know, center of gravity, science, physics stuff, that it helps the chef slice stuff faster, or the balance of a knife is very important for slicing. So testing the knives for chefs initially is important. That's why I guess chefs are very particular with their knives. Very relatable to the handle thing you're talking about. And I think material wise, and this is also a little bit of what I've learned in uni, the type of material that appears in restaurants and versus cafes and versus our own homes is very different because of what image we want to portray.
Hmm.
So I think for restaurants or fine dining, they'll definitely use more metal knives. Oh, even in airlines. So um, because flying to and fro from New Zealand back home, and for Singapore Airlines, or back when we were still flying before the pandemic days, they would mostly use metal utensils, whereas for maybe layover flights that are short distance, they would use the plastic ones. So I think could be a status thing because Singapore Airlines is like, wow, grand, premium sort of brand.
Yeah. I'm trying to think of a lot of the main airlines I've had. Yeah, it's just like plastic. This is the plastic cutlery, which again I always kind of hate because yeah, at least with your metal ones, I mean, it does create from a business point of view overheads in terms of now you've got to wash those dishes. I mean, I hopefully they're washing it. I hope they're not just throwing away metal stuff one after another. And thinking of service design, they've got to have this whole service now based around somebody's choice to use metal utensils versus not. That's a whole service design thought. And trying to find ways to bring it back into our typical kind of design and research world, it's one of those reminders that one little decision somebody might make, some manager somewhere might just go, oh, well, let's just add metal because it looks nicer or whatever, right? But it's
Mm,
all of those hidden constraints that come with it. How are you collecting the metal at the end of it? How are you washing it? How are you repackaging it so it doesn't,
mm.
get dirty on the way to that person? What if people are stealing chopsticks on the flights and now you have to like replace these and stuff? So you have to have extras. Yeah, it's a whole lot of additional constraints and things that come up just by a single decision on how to, maybe it's a branding decision, like you said, of how to give status to people.
I do have that answer for you
Ooh.
actually, for the airlines that have metal, or at least Singapore Airlines. They do have people washing and reusing it, part of their sustainable cause thing. And I guess having something that's metal and not plastic sort of it psychologically makes me enjoy my food more. It's got a purpose. I feel like I've got purpose eating with something that's metal and something that's um, foolhardy rather than something that's plastic that might break if I were to press on my meat a little bit too hard. So I'm always a little bit more cautious with plastic utensils. But with metal, I can just forget about it. That's my impression. I guess it boils down to what the company also wants, right? And they do focus a lot on customer experience and service design. Have you ever thought, this is a question for you,
Mm.
have you ever thought about the prongs on forks? Because there are three prongs and four prong forks. And I remember someone telling me before, a three-prong fork is not really a fork. And I don't know why, but
Oh,
he said,
the fork elitists there, they did like, yeah.
right?
Your fork is not good enough as my fork. Your fork is
Yeah.
obviously less superior than mine.
I mean, if it still does the same thing, it is a fork, I feel. But it got me thinking, what constitutes a fork?
Mm. Because I mean, I forgot what kind of food it is. Maybe it's like oysters or something. There's like those two prong forks, right? So those little
Mm,
ones that you like try to poke out really something really tiny. Again, I don't remember if it is oysters, but something
mm.
of that nature, I guess.
I remember using one of those ones, those two-prong ones for fondue, cheese fondues. Oh, so good. Mm.
Actually, I want to move real quickly to the one last key utensil, and I say key with a big quotation around it, because you mentioned it at the very beginning. Sporks, the controversial spork. I think you actually mentioned camping. That's all about that context. If you're camping, then a spork is handy because it can kind of serve all purposes. But then, so that's what I was wondering: is the spork actually the ultimate utensil, or is it actually like the absolute failure? What is your take on a spork?
I like how you phrased it.
This is definite. This is definitive. This is going to answer the spork for everybody in the world as of this useless podcast.
Ah, the campers are going to be interested in this, eh?
Yeah, they're gonna riot after we say this. They're gonna throw all the tents over and
Well, I'm just thinking, the spork. What is it used for? If I were to go camping, or if I were to use a spork, yeah. Okay, let's go back again. If I were to use a spork, it would definitely be for a thing that I don't have to carry around a lot, because I would definitely not use it at home. No matter how lazy I am, I would definitely not use a spork at home. So if I were to go to camping, what kind of food would I bring?
I feel like the old camping thing is like a can of beans, right? Because
Uh-huh.
a fork wouldn't work for beans. All the soupy part of it would just slide right through. Um, and you can't really scoop it out. There's too many tiny ones. But then I was
Exactly.
thinking sporks don't really scoop well like liquids. Like liquid stuff, it's not the greatest for that. And then for forks, it's not really great either because a lot of sporks just have like this really large, like 45-degree angle tines on them, like the prongs. And so
Mm,
it's like you can't really stab something like a piece of meat with a spork.
mm.
You can probably cut it, but you can't really stab it and pick it up like a piece of steak. That's why I keep thinking. It's like it seems like it would be kind of great because you only need to bring one thing with you and you can solve everything. But at the same point, it's pretty terrible in a lot of other ways at the same time.
Absolutely. You're absolutely right. And I mean, it looks amazing. It looks, again, right? Genuinely, it looks like it can be used for so many things or used to eat so many things. The spork is not going to really be helpful for noodles while cooking it. I mean, eating will be quite weird as well, because the large surface area, as you say, is going to be a hindrance for me even picking the noodles up and shoveling it into my mouth. I might even hurt myself trying to shovel it in my mouth too quick. So noodles, it fails.
No, okay. So sporks are out. No, we can get rid of them all.
I think, yeah, and they're mostly made of plastic too, aren't they?
Well, and some takeaways recently. A lot of places are doing like wooden, really thin, really basic kind of wood takeaway stuff. That way, you're not actually just creating tons of plastic and just single use plastics and throw it away. At least if it's wood, it's a little bit more sustainable than the other. And I think I actually have seen some sporks recently that have been just wooden ones that you get at like a takeaway shop.
Oh, nice. So this shows like how long ago I used this book. But I'm glad there's a They are making a difference right now in terms of material, what type of they're thinking about the types of materials that can be used. Oh, I love bamboo.
Oh,
Bamboo is great. Have you used any utensils that's got to do with bamboo before?
not that I actively know of.
The reason why I brought bamboo up, it grows like a weed. It just is kind of uncontrollable, but it has a potential of producing food and utensils alike and tools. So yeah, people eat bamboo, people use bamboo for utensils, bowls, cups, and everything, straws even. So I think bamboo is a good way of yeah, another good type of material apart from wood because as a kid I was taught not to use too much paper bags or anything paper related because we're destroying the rainforests for the use of these paper bags. But now it seems like it's the other way around. We should cut down on using plastic, which I totally agree with, single-use plastics especially. But um, nothing's really s- talked about this wooden thing. It seems like it's been gone. It's disappeared, and maybe it could be because we might be using more recycled wood now. It's really strange.
That's totally good. I mean, I like the messaging, and then so it's not only being considerate of what you're using and what you're taking. So I know some takeaway shops around here have also started having a little tick box when you check out that says, "Do you need utensils?" or like, "Will you bring your own?" So that way, if you don't, they're not just gonna chuck napkins and like sporks or forks or whatever it is, plastic ones or wooden ones into your bag if you don't actually need them. If you're
Yeah,
just gonna get the KFC to go and you're taking it home but you don't actually need all of that extra stuff, then why take it just to throw it in the rubbish? So it is quite nice to see a lot of places around here slowly doing that, and
yeah.
I hope it's a practice that moves elsewhere too. The two last areas I was thinking of, one, I would be remiss if I didn't bring up accessibility, at least in a little bit. I was doing some video searching in terms of, well, if you don't have hands, let's say, how do you actually use utensils? Like, what do you do instead? So I've seen some quite interesting videos of like this one person named Tisha Unarmed, and she basically picks up plates and even forks like between her chin and her shoulder, and kind of balances the middle of the fork on the edge of the plate so she can push the handle down with her shoulder and kind of like bite it off as it's propped up. So like the use of all of your other parts of you, or maybe your feet to lift utensils and things up, or lifting plates up. There are ways, obviously people still have to eat. And so there are ways people have figured out the challenges of it.
In terms of accessibility, there is one thing that I kind of want to add on because it's something that I saw that really speaks to my heart. The older generation, as they um, find it a lot more difficult to do their daily routine. Even eating might be quite challenging for them. So lifting something because of I guess they tremble a little bit, so they can't really get much. Or even people with Parkinson's. There was this kid, I think he got the inspiration from someone around him that has this challenge, and he created this spoon for that person itself, so that they can eat a little bit better and they don't have to worry about spillage. And it kind of works like one of those gyroscopes for
Oh,
cameras
nice. Yeah.
or a chicken's head. Like how it always stays still if even if you move the body.
Yeah.
So that's how the spoon works as well. No matter how much the handle moves, the bowl will stay still,
Oh, that's
and it's
cool.
easier to lift it to the face. Um, it is really cool, and I think that's forward thinking from the kid itself. And I'm just amazed how these ideas come about through just living with that person or just observing that person having that sort like form of difficulty and creating something that would help them long term, even if it's just a spoon.
I mean, that's the whole point of what we do is for work, right? And why we're so inspired by all this stuff, and why we hope to inspire other people to see that.
Yeah,
It's just that innovation is nothing more than watching people and seeing what difficulties they have in even the most minuscule thing, and trying to come up with a way to make that a little bit better. That is innovation. Innovation is not some magic thing that people in a room have to be workshopping and brainstorming to do something crazy. It's just like that. A kid maybe watching his grandmother, like, struggling to eat something and not getting, food's falling off her fork as she wavers it into her mouth, and going, hey, well, what if I, yeah, like you said, counterbalanced it or did some kind of gyroscope thing that always keeps it steady? That's pure innovation right there. It was just all it took was watching somebody, and that empathy that we always talk about in design,
Mm.
of just having empathy for somebody else and going, wow, I want to help make this person's life just a little bit better than it is today. That's beautiful.
Yeah, it is.
I think talking about this, accessibility and just comfort and watching people, it reminded me of not an eating utensil, but closely related in terms of at least preparing food, of the OXO brand kitchen tools such as scissors and knives and vegetable peelers and things like that. They've got a good grips line. They're the very familiar ones that you'll see in many stores, where the handle is this huge black like rubber handle. As the history goes, is the founder of this OXO brand basically just watched his wife with arthritis in her hands, and she was finding it very hard to use her kitchen tools. And so he saw a clear need at the time. This is way back when, like, his wife was having a hard time holding on to it. So he basically just changed the handle. He just said, well, what if I make this nice soft grip rubber handle for her that's a lot bigger, and then making her life a little bit easier, designing for one person and finding out that everybody else in the world can actually benefit that. And with a beautiful of all accessible things, it's not only beneficial for somebody with arthritis, but anybody who doesn't want to get their hand cramped up using it can now use it. It's, you solve for one, solves for many. It's amazing.
I completely 100% agree with you. And yeah, it's the discovery phase of that, isn't it?
Yeah, so safety and design of being conscious about who's using it, how they're using it, and trying to pay attention to those things. So it's not maybe necessarily the safety angle, but it was a story you again told me a year ago that I really liked. When I think about the sustainability of these instruments and tools, and you had seen some documentary apparently around scissors that were handed down generation to generation.
Yeah, it's a beautiful one. This is me having a chat with my partner's aunt, I think, about how she has these pair of scissors that again been passed down for through generations. They're sharp, they're well made, and it has become an heirloom itself. And it got me thinking, these things are expensive, but they're fixable. And these companies actually want you to return to, like, if you break something or if something comes loose, like return it to them, they'll fix it for you and they'll send it to you back and even maybe polish it. And it's stuff that is usable and for a long time, and you can pass it down to people if you take good care of it. It's it might be a cultural thing as well, because I do like investing in um in things that work and things that are useful and things that have a long shelf life, um, and that are made well. So I did recently watch another video about Rolex watches and how expensive it is. And even though it's not related to utensils at the moment, it initially did not come out as a premium brand. It just was to give the public a piece of tool, a watch that they can use it whenever they can. It's waterproof. It's pretty much almost accurate. It takes about a year to make a watch, and the amount of detail, attention, and care goes into that product or tool is what I like investing, no matter how much it is. Because if it lasts long, I don't have to keep buying things, and I think to me that is sustainable for my daily life. And um, it's not really what we're seeing now. I mean, we're trying. Us humans are trying to be sustainable, but I think I would definitely spend a little bit more time and effort into caring for the things that I have that are expensive, because it's so much more worthwhile.
I was thinking about, again, the stuff that I've got next to me. A lot of the forks and stuff are just like, eh. I mean, if they get bent too far or something, just chuck them away. It doesn't feel like something worth that's like you really need to keep. But then in terms of your stories and in this story of passing down a sharpenable pair of scissors, some things come to mind that I'm always wondering about the business angle. And I think you made a good point that it's not just that you need to always have new consumers or that repeat consumers coming in and buying your stuff over and over. There's this other approach that you could take it to, well, how do you really make it personal? How do you make it sentimental? How do you make it a thing that people are proud to own and proud to have? And maybe they're not replacing it every few years, frustratingly, but maybe they're now telling their friends about it. They're actually being those brand advocates that those companies probably want and telling you, oh my gosh, you've got to go buy this brand because I've never needed another scissor in my life. Or maybe they want to start buying multiple. Maybe they're going to start putting one upstairs in their house and one, if they have it downstairs, maybe that's one in one drawer, their, kitchen utensils drawer versus one in like their crafts drawer or whatever they might have. And then there's other things that business could do to get money just the same as, well, what if they started engraving it? I mean, if this is going to last that long, right? You're not going to throw those away. So that's an extra service now, paying an extra few bucks to engrave it with something that you can pass down. Or you mentioned how they can be resharpened. Well, what about that of a sharpening tool that now it's an accessory that you can sell? So you sell them the one pair of scissors that lasts forever or the one knife that's made to last forever, but you sell the accessories around it. Maybe it's the service to sharpen it every year. Maybe it's the sharpening block. You can sell them on the side and ship it to them. There's so many ways to make something sustainable and build a business model around it rather than just the planned obsolescence of creating something that's only going to last so long, then get dull, then people are just going to chuck it away and just go to the store and buy the exact same thing again because it's the cheap one.
Yeah. I also think that, to add to your point, people actually start focusing on purchasing like with longevity, with sustainability. For example, the scissors or even knives. These craftsmen would increase, or there will be a need for these craftspeople. So that ultimately would create jobs as well. And I remember in certain cultures, they have high respect for these craftsmen. I feel something that not all machines can do, but it really is depend. It really depends again, isn't it, on what our mindset is and whether we need it almost immediately. Can we wait for shipping from, I don't know, Europe, Germany, England to get us that scissors, that pair of scissors? And it kind of also reminds me that is very similar to fashion, isn't it? It used to be leather or mostly organic things, but now, I mean, it's fast fashion that we're trying to stop and also hope that we're not being greenwashed by these companies. Um, I feel that it's quite interconnected. Um, Thinking out loud right now, like how whatever we're talking about affects different types of industries in our lives too.
I think maybe this is a good way to wrap it all up. That one little decision you make can have an untold number of positive or negative consequences. So, on one angle, it's that innocuous decision or seemingly innocuous decision of, well, we want to use plastic versus metal forks on an airline. And what happens for that? Down to this of thinking of longevity and the kind of materials and choices you use in terms of that, and what business models you can actually build around sustainability that aren't immediately obvious. You could just make the forks that everybody just buys and throws away and forgets about and doesn't care about people stealing, versus something that is special to you, something that you actually do carry around in a case. And yeah, hey, now they're paying for that case as well. So that there's so many ways to do things differently than just what seems obvious on the surface. Anyway, yeah, I think that's a good wrap up in total. Is there any final thoughts you have on this?
Ooh. Well, you can do what I do. Apart from just like, okay, no phones at the table. If like, try and leave your phone alone while eating. They call it mindful eating, I think. Um, apart from just paying attention to the food, pay attention to the tools that you use, even the vessels that you're eating from, because I think it will make your experience much more enjoyable.
Thank you, Janice. I think we will close this one out. And
Thank you for having me.
with that, folks, thank you for listening to this episode. And I hope you see the design of your kitchen drawers in a new way and the things inside them. To see examples of what we were talking about today and to keep this conversation going, you can find and follow us at Everyday EXP Pod or myself at Geoff Wilson HCD. Janice, what about you? How can people find or follow you?
You can follow me on Twitter. I am Illustrator. So EATLLUSTRATOR. So eat and illustrate.
Eating has been the theme today for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Please consider leaving us a rating and subscribing to the show on your favorite podcasting app and checking out our previous episodes. And as always, just remember, you don't have to have a fancy job title to start noticing and improving the everyday experiences wherever you work. Thanks, and we'll be on the air again soon. Cue the music. Again, we've talked about the service design just then versus the design of an accessible thing for your grandmothers or whoever else might have Parkinson's or Alzheimer's or not. Sorry, I'm going to repeat that. Not Alzheimer's. That's like forgetting Alzheimer's like, where are my forks? Who are you?
What do I do with this thing?
Yeah. What was I eating again?